Are we witnessing the rise of Iran as foretold? In biblical prophecy? Imagine the sands of ancient Persia, now Iran, where mystics and prophets once walked, where words spoken ages ago linger, suspended in the corridors of time. Could it be that these ancient voices, whispering through the annals of history, are more than distant memories? What if, as we pore over today's headlines, we find ourselves not merely as spectators, but as actors in a narrative set in motion long ago? Today, Iran stands on the precipice of prophetic discourse, woven into an intricate tapestry of foretellings from centuries past. In the alliances we see forming, with Iran, Russia, and Turkey moving in step, one might glimpse the outline of something foretold. Are the tales of Daniel, Ezekiel, and Revelation simply relics of a bygone era, or are they reflections of the present, possibly the story of now? If these questions stir something within you, join us on this journey. Subscribe to our channel, share your thoughts in the comments, and let's seek understanding together, navigating these profound intersections of prophecy and reality. 1. The role of Persia in biblical history. From light to darkness. The story of Israel and ancient Persia, modern-day Iran, is one of the most astonishing, transformative relationships in biblical history. Unlike Israel's many fraught and sorrowful interactions with other empires, filled with oppression, exile, and even despair, Persia began as a bright exception. It was the light that broke through Israel's darkness, a symbol of redemption, hope, and divine intervention. For Israel, Persia wasn't just another foreign power. It was a lifeline, a God-sent friend during one of their bleakest moments. And this all began with one extraordinary figure, King Cyrus the Great. King Cyrus, the founder of the vast Persian Empire, is uniquely referred to as God's anointed in the Hebrew Scriptures. Isaiah 45:1. This was an unimaginable honor, a title reserved for Israel's own kings and priests, yet bestowed on a foreign ruler. Cyrus was chosen, anointed, by God to fulfill a sacred purpose, the restoration of Israel after decades in the bitter grip of Babylonian exile. By divine command, Cyrus issued a decree that changed everything. He granted the Jewish people permission to return to their homeland and rebuild their sacred temple in Jerusalem. Ezra 1:1-4. This wasn't just a political gesture, it was an act of liberation, a moment of spiritual resurrection. Cyrus transformed from a conqueror into a compassionate deliverer, giving Israel a chance to rise again from the ashes of defeat. In that era, Persia was not just a world empire, it was an instrument of God's mercy and redemption. Through Cyrus, Persia became the vessel through which God renewed his covenant with his people, fulfilling prophetic promises that Israel would one day be restored. Jeremiah 29:10-14. The once mighty, often cruel empires had brought Israel to its knees. Yet Persia, instead of crushing the defeated, became a channel of blessing. It was an empire that showed that God could move even the hearts of pagan kings to serve his purpose, to be the unexpected deliverer of his chosen people. The support didn't end with Cyrus. His successors, kings like Darius and Artaxerxes, continued to stand by Israel, safeguarding their right to rebuild both their city and their lives. Persian rulers funded and protected the Jewish people, enabling them to reconstruct Jerusalem's broken walls and renew their identity. Led by figures like Zerubbabel, Ezra, and Nehemiah. Ezra 6:1-12, Nehemiah 2:1-8. For a time, Persia and Israel were unlikely allies, linked not by conquest or commerce, but by a shared divine purpose. Persia was more than a friend. It became a partner in God's mission, embodying the profound biblical truth that even a nation of foreign beliefs could carry out God's will. But as we continue through Scripture, a stark and unsettling transformation appears. In the prophetic books of Ezekiel and Daniel, Persia is no longer a friend. Instead, it becomes part of a coalition set against Israel in what many interpret as end-times prophecies. In Ezekiel 38-39, Persia is mentioned as a partner in a foreseen alliance with Gog and Magog, one that will rise to assault God's people. This prophetic pivot is dramatic, from ally to adversary, marking a tragic, almost Shakespearean reversal. The Persia that once saved Israel will one day turn against it, darkening the light it once brought. And today, this prophecy feels alarmingly relevant. Modern Iran, the successor of ancient Persia, is often outspoken in its opposition to Israel. A nation that once embodied redemption now speaks of Israel's end, and its policies reflect a commitment to challenging Israel's very existence. We can feel the heartbreak in this shift, from a friendship rooted in divine providence to an antagonism that chills the heart. The Persia that once lifted Israel up now stands poised against it, turning the pages of prophecy into a haunting reality. This transformation of Persia from a beacon of hope to a harbinger of hostility is a somber reminder of history's unpredictability and of the fragile nature of alliances. Persia's legacy is twofold. It shows us the extent of God's grace through the remarkable actions of Cyrus, and it serves as a warning that even the most trusted friend can one day turn against God's people. For Americans who see this ancient history unfold against today's headlines, the lesson is clear. We must stay vigilant, recognizing that what was once a light in the darkness may, one day, become the darkness itself. Persia's story is a testament to the mystery of God's plan, a story of redemption and heartbreak, of hope that turned to conflict, and of the ever-evolving role nations play in the tapestry of divine history. 2. A new alliance with Russia and Turkey. In the ancient book of Ezekiel, visions that once felt obscure and distant now take on an unsettling familiarity. Ezekiel 38-39 prophecies, a coalition led by a northern power, a foreboding alliance against Israel. What was once mysterious now seems disconcertingly clear as the geopolitical chessboard of the 21st century unfolds. Among these nations stands Persia, modern-day Iran, alongside a leader from the north, often interpreted by scholars as Russia. As today's events mirror ancient prophecy, the alliance of Iran, Russia, and Turkey compels us to pay attention as dark forces begin to gather strength. When Ezekiel spoke, Israel was in exile, and his words seemed both ominous and elusive. He envisioned a time when an army from the far north would unite with Persia and other nations in a sinister alliance against Israel. Scholars have long debated the meaning of Gog and Magog in these passages, speculating on the nature of this mysterious coalition. But in the context of today's world, many see these ancient names as potential symbols for nations like Russia and Iran, whose geopolitical interests now align ominously. Russia, a true northern power positioned directly above Israel, and Iran, Persia's ancient heir, have cultivated an unprecedented alliance, with Turkey joining their ranks in a shift that is as strategic as it is disconcerting. In modern times, the once theoretical alignment between Iran, Russia, and Turkey has become real. Iran and Russia have forged a bond strengthened by military cooperation and mutual disdain for Western influence in the Middle East. Russia has equipped Iran with advanced weapons and nuclear technology, empowering Iran as a major regional player. Their alliance in Syria, with Russian forces providing cover for Iran's ambitions, only deepens their cooperation. And Turkey, historically a key NATO ally, has drifted away from the West under President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's leadership. Turkey's turn toward more independent policies and its growing hostility toward Israel has led it to align with these anti-Western powers, completing the ominous triangle described in Ezekiel's vision. For those who heed biblical prophecy, the convergence of these nations carries profound significance. In Ezekiel's vision, this coalition was not a random gathering, but a calculated assembly with a single purpose: to come against Israel, to challenge the promises made by God. Now, with the alliance of Iran, Russia, and Turkey, no longer a distant prophecy, but a concrete reality, the question is no longer if, but when, their forces might turn toward Israel. Iran's influence across the Middle East reaches from Lebanon, where its proxy Hezbollah threatens Israel's northern borders, to Gaza, where militant groups align with Iran's agenda. With Russia's presence in Syria, Iran has the logistical support it needs to continue this encirclement, while Russia's military dominance serves as a safeguard for Iran's ambitions. And as Turkey grows closer to both nations, it enhances the strategic position of this coalition. Turkey's unique placement between East and West, along with its military capability, makes it a critical ally for Iran and Russia, solidifying a powerful bloc that could easily shift its gaze toward Israel. The gathering of these forces resonates with a chilling sense of destiny. The ancient warnings of Ezekiel seem written for our time, as if history is bending toward a confrontation foretold millennia ago. Leaders of these nations do not shy from public declarations against Israel. They openly express hostility, with rhetoric that seems to echo the prophecy itself. Their pronouncements feel almost scripted as they speak against Israel, seeing it as both a regional rival and a symbolic enemy. This ideological alignment with ancient prophecy adds to the weight of these alliances, suggesting that what once was a warning is now an urgent reality. For many, these developments are not merely political, they are deeply unsettling, giving a sense of foreboding as the pieces align. In our world, where political alliances shift quickly, the bond between Iran, Russia, and Turkey seems more than a momentary coincidence. It feels like a gathering storm, each nation bringing its strength, ambition, and hostility, positioning for an inevitable clash. As Americans, it's difficult to ignore these biblical echoes, especially when the past and present seem to converge with such intensity. This coalition of Iran, Russia, and Turkey, nations tied to some interpretations of Ezekiel's prophecy, casts a shadow over Israel's future and raises a question for all of us. Are these alliances merely political maneuvers in a troubled region? Or are we witnessing the first steps of a prophetic conflict? For those who look through the lens of history and prophecy, the implications are profound. The alliances of Iran, Russia, and Turkey feel like more than diplomacy. They feel like the unfolding of a divine narrative, a dramatic gathering of dark forces that could shape the course of history in ways yet unknown. 3. Rising geopolitical tensions, the edge of the abyss. For Israel, existence in the Middle East has always meant living on high alert, surrounded by shifting allegiances and relentless threats. But in recent years, this vigilance has transformed into a chilling anticipation as the region's tensions tighten and intensify. Israel now wakes each morning with a grim question hanging in the air. Will today be the day Iran's words turn into missiles? What once felt like distant speculation now feels shockingly real. As Iran's rhetoric sharpens, its actions grow bolder, and the shadow of open conflict looms larger. These escalating tensions recall the ancient prophecy of the War of Gog and Magog, a cataclysmic battle that many believe will unite Israel's most formidable foes in a final, devastating assault. Iran's leaders make no secret of their hostility. They have called Israel a cancerous tumor that must be eradicated, a chilling declaration of intent that reverberates across the international community, fueling a pervasive sense of foreboding. Iran's statements are not empty threats. They form part of a broader strategy, building a network of proxies that steadily encircle Israel. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, and Iranian-backed militias in Syria all serve as Iran's outposts, a deadly ring that could close in on Israel at any moment. Iran's strategy is clear and relentless. Surround Israel, wear down its defenses, and strain its resources until the nation is forced to the brink. In Lebanon, Hezbollah has amassed over 100,000 rockets, each one pointed directly at Israeli cities, representing a constant, towering threat. Meanwhile, Iranian Revolutionary Guard forces reportedly set up bases in Syria, just miles from Israel's Golan Heights, placing hostile forces within striking distance of Israeli civilians. Every move tightens the noose, bringing Iran's threats closer to becoming a brutal reality. This is not just a political maneuver. It is a strategic encirclement that aims to break Israel's spirit and exhaust its resilience. Every rocket fired, every infiltration attempt, stretches Israel's resources thin, forcing it to live in a state of perpetual readiness. America, Israel's steadfast ally, has taken notice. U.S. forces and intelligence assets are increasingly active in the region, engaging in joint military exercises and defense initiatives with Israel, underscoring the realization that these tensions are not isolated but part of a larger, ominous pattern. For those who look to prophecy, these mounting tensions carry an eerie sense of destiny. Ezekiel describes a day when Israel will face an assault from a coalition led by a mysterious figure named Gog, a leader from the far north. Ezekiel 38:2. This coalition, foreseen by some to include Iran and other regional powers, will gather for one purpose: the total destruction of Israel. The prophecy describes a great company and a mighty army descending upon Israel with vengeance, only to meet a powerful divine intervention. This vision of the War of Gog and Magog casts a shadow over today's world events, each headline feeling like a foreboding step toward its fulfillment. The citizens of Israel live with this tension daily. Israelis are no strangers to conflict, but the atmosphere now is thick with a deeper anxiety, a sense of an existential threat that goes beyond rockets and skirmishes. This feels like an impending battle for Israel's very survival, a looming moment that could reshape the nation's future forever. It is a daily reality that reverberates from military ranks to family homes, a profound unease that makes each day feel like it could be the calm before the storm. Americans, too, feel the weight of these events. The United States, bound to Israel by ties of faith, culture, and unwavering support, finds itself more entangled in this escalating crisis. For many, this moment feels unique, almost haunting, resonating with a sense of preordained tragedy, as if an ancient script is unfolding before our eyes. The world feels like it is teetering on the edge of a prophetic abyss, where every diplomatic move, every alliance, brings us closer to a climactic moment foreseen thousands of years ago. Today's world is a chessboard, where each maneuver is charged with a sense of inevitability. The gathering forces, the proxy conflicts, and the ever-tightening alliances seem to echo Ezekiel's prophecy. Iran's encroachment, Russia's support, and Turkey's alignment all seem to be pieces in a larger ancient design, bringing the Middle East to the precipice of a monumental confrontation. This mounting dread feels like the gathering of a storm that cannot be stopped, only endured. The alliance of Iran, Russia, and Turkey, nations seen by some as linked to the ominous forces described by Ezekiel, casts a long shadow over Israel's future. For many, it feels less like a political shift, and more like the culmination of a prophecy, an inescapable march toward a battle that will shape not only Israel's fate, but the course of human history itself. As we watch these alliances strengthen and tensions escalate, it feels as if we are standing on the edge of an abyss. The war of Gog and Magog, prophesied to be a defining moment in Israel's history, no longer feels like a distant vision, but a potential reality. Each headline, each movement on the world stage, feels like another step toward the inevitable, a point of convergence where history and prophecy intertwine. For those attuned to the biblical narrative, the alliances and escalations suggest a world poised on the brink, a world where the past and present merge in a climactic, prophetic moment. As we stand at the edge, breath held and hearts heavy, the story written across the ages may soon unfold before our very eyes.